I was born in East Los Angeles, which is one of the most highest gang-infested areas in Los Angeles. My father my father didn't raise me, but he was a gang member, and also my stepfather was a gang member. So I was really raised in the gang schooling from a very young age, actually from birth. So by the age of 14, I was heavily involved already, going in and out of the juvenile system for violent crimes, which were gang affiliated, and I just kept going down different roads. Eventually, started using drugs, and at the age of 18, I ended up in prison for attempted murder, which I almost got a life sentence for, and I ended up serving 5 years in a maximum security prison, and which time I was released. And my mother in my time of incarceration, had started going to a church in Los Angeles, and it was a church that specialized in reaching out to gang members and drug addicts and their families. So she would always tell me a place, a place that this church could help me, and they had a men's home, a recovery home. And I wasn't really looking for God. I was just tired of living the way I was living. And, she kept pleading and praying, and she kept, ministering to me and letting me know that God had a plan for me. And one day I was just tired, and upon my release, I just told her, wherever you're going to take me now, because that might change my mind. And she ended up taking me through the doors of the church, and that very same day, God really got a hold of my life, and that was 9 years ago. And He's totally transformed me, changed me, and now I do the same thing. I reach out to those same kind of people. Now, it's expanded for me more, because now I work with church kids and, a different variety. Still gang members and drugs, but now we have a lot of ministers' kids I work with, and training them in the things of God, leaders for the future. So that's a brief part of my testimony, and that's how I came to know the Lord also.
Amen. And so it sounds to me like God had already had a plan on your life and you should have been looking at, like you said, a life stretch, a life sentence, basically, and you only did 5 years. Right there, that's just telling me that God has had a plan for you and where you are today. Could you let our listeners know what is a gang? What is a gang for some mother that may be listening tonight? What is a gang? What is it all about? What do they do?
Okay, well, there's different culture gangs, which I was from a more Hispanic gang, and which not very far from us were Crips and Bloods, but any gang actually it doesn't matter what kind of gang it is, it's very dangerous, because what the gangs do is they entice young people to do whatever they have to do to feel belonging, and that means hurting people to protect yourself or your friends or so-called friends, or demanding loyalty of your life at all costs. And for me, it was a little bit, for the culture I grew up in, it's generations.
Right.
So my grandpa, my dad, my brothers, my older brothers were all from gangs. So to me, it wasn't so much the sense of belonging at first, because it was what I grew up in.
Right.
But all along it was, I just wanted to fit in to follow in the footsteps, to make, my family proud, and which was very dangerous, because that sense of that false sense of family took me down the road. It did, because I would have died for one of the guys in the gang. I would have killed for them.
Right.
Really anybody, and did anything I had to do, even if I didn't want to do it. There was times I didn't want to commit crime, but because I was with them, I had to do it.
Right.
So any gang, I would say, from a gang just starting to one that's been around for a long time, Mexican, Black, they're very dangerous, and they entice young people with wanting to entice them with money and drugs and power, which at first you probably do experience those things, but they're very short-lived.
Yeah.
Short-lived.